Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 255 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. Today's show, I wanted to focus on 5 things that I'm going to be focusing in on in 2021, and also how these 5 things have changed or how motherhood has really impacted why I'm focusing on these 5 things, all right? Before we get into the episode, as always, if you enjoy this episode, please make sure you're sharing with your own communities. You can find us across the board at Dreams and Drive on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can use the hashtag Dreams and Drive when sharing as well. I love it when you guys are reposting this to your Instagram stories, your Facebook feeds, LinkedIn, wherever you are on social media. Just share it with someone. I really think that this week's lessons, and I'm calling it lessons because this year I want to do more of these Drivers Ed series, these solo episodes where I'm focusing in on topics that I think that will help you. And also I want to take you guys behind the seats of this new journey that I'm on, right? I really am in the Drivers Ed version of motherhood, trying to figure out who I am, how I'm going to do it, and how my dream driving journey is going to be looking. So I hope that you guys enjoy these. If this is your first time listening, I also hope that you subscribe wherever you are. And if you want to join our weekly newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates from me via email, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, guys, if you want to get Dreams and Drive merchandise, or if you want to donate to the show in some way, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/shop or go to dreamsanddrive.com/donate to learn about more ways you can support the show. So let's get into this Driver's Ed topic, right? 5 ways to conquer 2021, or 5 ways motherhood has changed my dream driving journey. What we're going to be talking about today are these 5 words that I really thought about. I've reflected upon my 2020, the end of the year, having a baby, and some things that I really want to guide me in this new year. So I figured, hey, why not? Why not share it with you all? And these might be things that you can also implement along your own journeys as well. So if you haven't already, in episode 254, the one prior to this, I shared my labor and delivery, my birth story with you all, how I had a 40-hour labor, unmedicated, no pain medication, and I gave birth to a beautiful little boy in September, and my life has changed. I wouldn't have known a year ago that my life would be what it is today. Some things have changed for the better. Some things have changed in ways that have challenged me, but I definitely grew as a person. And I really want to make sure that I'm building on that momentum of growth. And I'm really thinking about what I can do to make 2021 such a great year. So these are things that I'm going to be working on. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I have it all figured out. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, these are all things that I've done 100%. These words are going to be guiding me for the next year. And I think that they are words that you can use if you're looking for something to guide you as well in 2021, all right? So for parents, mothers, fathers, dream drivers, whoever is listening to this, let's attack these 5 words and let's really dive down and discover how they can impact this year. So number 1, vision. It's so important. As a mother now, I realize that I need to have a clear sense of where I want to go. In order for your GPS to work, you have to have a destination to plug in, right? And there are often multiple routes, different ways that you can get to that destination. You don't always have to follow it, but knowing where you want to go is essential. And that's why I think vision is something that has really changed for me now that I'm a mother. I really have to force myself to think bigger because I know it's not about me anymore. I think before I had my son, I was really thinking solo. I wasn't necessarily thinking long term, but everything that I'm doing now, I'm thinking of the bigger vision, and I'm allowing myself to really dream big and to want to implement big. The sky is the limit. And I remember one time when I was interning at CBS News, and I was in the 2020 building, or the building where they filmed, not 2020, 48 Hours, I think that was. And I was in an office and I met who I didn't know who he was at the time, but he was Byron Pitts, who was an anchor at CBS. I remember he told me, what are your dreams? And I think I didn't really answer him. I was probably about 20 at this time. And he said, your dream should be so big that I laugh at it. Your vision should be so big that I laugh at it. It should scare you. It should scare other people. And that's something that really has stuck close to me. Number 2, so along with vision, right? You also need to have intention. You need to be intentional. So what's the definition of intentional? Intentional means to be done on purpose or to be deliberate. So that means in 2021, I am going to be very specific in my goal setting, right? And for me, that's what it translates to. If something is going to be deliberate, that means it has to be part of a goal. That means it has to be done on purpose. That means it has to be done from a plan of some sort. That means there is a reason for my actions. There are a reason for my moves. There is intentionality in everything that I do. And so that's something that I'm going to be using to guide me. How am I going to do things? What do I have to do in order to be deliberate? And at the same time, in order to do this, I realize there's going to be a lot of things that I have to answer as well, because if you're not deliberate, if you're not on purpose, you have to figure out the why. You have to figure out what's holding me back. Is it myself? Is it others? Is it a situation? Is it an environment? There's so many things that I have to now figure out, but that all comes with being intentional, because intentionality forces you to reflect. And that's something that's going to be a guiding force in my 2021. Number 3, fuel. And thinking about dream driving, let's just call that gas, right? There are going to have to be things that are going to fill my tank along the way. And for me, my fuel, I know this may sound cliche, but it really has been my son, and specifically his ability, his experiencing of the world for the first time, his joy, the way that he gets excited about learning. That has been my fuel, and it also sparks within me. How can I find that childlike joy? How can I find the things that fill me up and really get me going, that inspire, that motivate? I hope that this podcast is a source of fuel, a source of gas for you. And I know that there are other things in your life that also can be a source of fuel, both physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever that is. But I'm going to be focused on filling my fuel tanks. And like I said, there are different types of fuel tanks. There's physical, there's emotional, there's mental, there's all those different types of fuel tanks. But I think it's very important to include that in my toolkit for 2021, right? My toolkit for 2021 has to be filled with things that inspire joy and also keep me going. The 4th thing in my toolkit is focus. I think one of the things that come with being a visionary, that always having ideas, always being busybody in my mind, is that I oftentimes cannot focus, or I'm not really honing in on one thing and doing that thing well. I kind of do something and then think of something else and then want to do that and whatever. But this year, I really want to see, I think about it. It's been 5 years that I've been doing Dreams and Drive. And I remember the reason why I did it was I said to myself, I want to see what would happen if I show up for myself and release an episode every week, because I was so tired of doing these blog posts and not really seeing any traffic. And so I focused and I said, all right, I'm going to release something every week. And now I want to see, how can I refocus myself? I got the podcast on lock. I know how to do it every week if I really truly wanted to. But what are some things that I can focus on this year that will really, really take me to the next level? For me, that's going to be financials, creating products, building a business around Dreams and Drive. I think for a long time, I've kind of operated Dreams and Drive. And I know my coach is going to get mad at me, Rich, for listening to this. Dreams and Drive has been a passion of mine, but now I want to build something out of it. I want to help provide more value to listeners, and that's what I'm going to be focusing in on this year. And that's going to be tough for me. It's going to be pushing me out of my comfort zone. But I think if there are things in your life that you want to accomplish, you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I'm saying these things because I think just writing it down, I think just talking about it, is also a way for me to hold myself accountable of telling you all that this is things that I'm struggling with, right? Because focus is hard. Focus is definitely hard. Now that I have a son, now that I have a baby, my time is even less. So how am I going to do this? That's what 2021 is going to be about for me. Figuring out how I can focus, figuring out how I can get help, figuring out, what are ways that I can be efficient, figuring out how can I set deadlines for myself? How can I set boundaries for myself? Because in order to focus, you have to have boundaries with others and with myself. So those are all things that I'm going to be doing under the bucket of focusing. And then lastly, the thing that is also in my toolkit for 2021 is rest. Rest is important. I realized that in 2020, we all were kind of forced to rest in some way. Some of us were forced to, a lot of people lost their jobs with COVID-19, the pandemic. A lot of people's lives were shifted dramatically. Some people still are essential workers, had to go to work, had to go into the office. I applaud you and I respect you and I appreciate everyone who did not have the luxury of resting in that way. But I think 2020 taught us that we needed it. We needed to clear our minds. And although I have these big goals and although I want to accomplish so much in 2021, and part of it is me also not wanting to feel like now that I'm a mom, I'm not going to be able to do something. I think part of me is also trying to prove to myself that I still can. And that's going to change. And maybe at the end of the year, I'm going to reflect on this and say, hey, girl, you were trying to do too much. But I know that in order to make sure that I'm not burning out, which is different from doing too much, right? I think you can accomplish a lot, but also try not to burn out. And that's what I'm going to be focusing in on. And you have to have rest at some point. I think I appreciated like the first 12 weeks of having a baby in that fourth trimester where my son was still young and I was learning him and I was just focused in on him. And I learned that when you're rested, you can really, really focus. Things just are better when you're rested. So I'm going to really find time to incorporate rest into my dream driving journey, to make sure that I'm pulling off from the rest stops, to make sure that I'm taking time to see those scenic routes, because all that stuff is going to inform who I am. It's going to inform the journey. And it's also a critical part of the journey. Think about being on a highway, right? When you're on a highway, they have to have rest stops every certain amount of miles, unless you're in some rural part. But if you're on a main highway like I-95 on the East Coast, you will see a rest stop every 30 miles or whatever it is. And that's intended for you to refuel, right? I can get out, I can refuel, I can think about the vision, I can make sure I'm on track, I can make sure I'm being intentional, I can make sure that I'm getting that fuel and that I'm focused. So the rest is really, really important to make sure that all those other things in my toolkit are working in tandem and they're working to really help me get to where I want to go in 2021. So yeah, those are just 5 things that are in my toolkit for this year. I would love to hear, what are 5 things that are in your toolkit? What are 5 things that you're going to be focusing on? What are 5 words that you're excited that will be guiding your 2021, your new year, wherever that started, right? I'm not a big proponent of, once January 1st comes, your whole life has to change and everything else is just whatever. I know that it's just a metaphorical saying of, new year, new me. But I'm telling you guys, I'm ready to start seeing changes. I'm ready to start doing Dreams and Drive more consistently. I'm ready to kind of push myself in the sense of not just talking about it, but being about it. And I'm a big talker. I love listening. I love kind of being in the passenger seats of stories and seeing what's happening. But I am ready now to get back into the driver's seat. Make sure I'm looking in the back seat, right? Because now I have a car seat in my back seat that's always going to be there. And I'm excited to bring you guys along that journey. So maybe I'll do more updates like this. If you have questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to DM me on Instagram. That's where I'm probably most active. And let's get this conversation going, because all these things were informed by this new period in my life, which is motherhood. I would like to know what's informing things in your life this year. What are the things that are informing your toolkits? How are you planning to make 2021 a great year? Let's get this conversation started. Let's get this conversation going. And if anything, I hope this just inspires in you wherever you're listening. Open up your iPhone, take out your notes, write it down. 5 things that you want to have in your toolkit this year, even if they're not there yet, or 5 things you want to focus in on. I think it's a really good activity to do to kind of get yourself excited and to really get pumped up for what's going to be a great year, Dream Drivers. I'm telling you, the end of this year, I'm going to look back and be like, dang, Raina, you did that. And I want you guys to do the same. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you're sharing it with your community. You can find us across the board at Dreams and Drive on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you're screenshotting this. I'm going to have posts on social media, so go on our Dreams and Drive Instagram page, follow us there, share that stuff. I really do appreciate it, you guys. If you want to get our weekly newsletter, The Keys, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And if you want to support the show, there are several ways you can do. So just go to dreamsanddrive.com/donate, or you can go to dreamsanddrive.com/shop to get some Dreams and Drive merchandise. And guys, I did this all while my baby was sleeping. I'm learning that I have no excuses. I can really make a use of my time. So this is me being intentional. So yeah, this is 2 examples of me being intentional and me being focused. So I'm using this in my toolkit already. As always, guys, keep dreaming, keep driving, and wait, I want to tell you, pictures will be looked at this month. So yeah, I'm excited to go through all the pictures that I've received through maternity leave. So yeah, I'm excited to go through all the pictures that I've received, and I am going to start interviewing guests again. So if you want to pitch me, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. That's the best way to pitch me. And you can always follow up via email, but that's the best way to make sure you're at least on my radar. All right. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 256. Bye, guys.